Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are tackling something that I think is one of the most stressful, but also most critical parts of communication in a new language.
Oh, absolutely. The first impression.
The first impression. We're going to dive deep into the psychology, the culture, and really the practical scripts you need to master English introductions. We're talking about something the research calls social calibration.
And this is so important because the fear for an English learner isn't just getting a word wrong. It's the much deeper fear of social exclusion.
Right.
The sources we looked at are clear on this. Even high proficiency learners feel the most anxiety right here at the very beginning.
And the pressure is it's instant. I mean, we've all heard of it, the famous 7-second rule. And it's not some marketing gimmick. Studies actually show people form a really stable, often irreversible judgment about your competence, all within 7 seconds of meeting you.
That window is just brutal. If you spend those few seconds looking like you're struggling, searching for some textbook phrase,
You've
lost? The opportunity is gone. The impression is already set.
So our mission today is to arm you with the strategies to dominate that 7-second window. We're moving way beyond, hello, my name is John.
Right.
We want to show you how to get that social calibration, that sort of quiet, fluid ability to just match the energy of the room and avoid all that awkwardness.
And we've broken this down into 3 phases that really address the biggest hurdles for learners. How to start, how to sustain the conversation, and crucially, how to get out of it gracefully.
Okay, let's start with the most common situation. The casual setting, right? You're at a conference break, in line for a coffee, that kind of thing.
And the number one rule here is completely counterintuitive for so many learners.
It really is.
In a lot of Western cultures, the US, UK, Canada, Australia, there's this huge cultural difference that causes an immediate social misfire.
And what's that?
Walking up to a stranger and immediately saying, "Hello, I'm Alex."
Right. It can be seen as, socially tone deaf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even a bit aggressive.
Okay, hang on. I have to push back on that a little. Aggressive. Why? If you're introducing yourself, isn't your name the most important thing?
It seems like it should be, but it's aggressive because it forces an identity exchange before any kind of rapport is built.
I see.
In these contexts, identity is something that's earned, not demanded up front. You're basically signaling, "I demand your attention now," when you should be signaling, "Hey, we're sharing this moment."
So you need to delay the name. You have to establish what the research calls a shared reality first.
Exactly. Context before identity. You create a tiny, safe, temporary bond over something completely neutral.
Okay, give us some concrete examples of how you do that without it feeling forced.
Well, there are 3 main types of observations.
Right.
First, you can just comment on the environment. Something simple. Is the air conditioning broken? It's freezing in here. Or, it's surprisingly hard to find a quiet corner in this place.
Okay, simple. I like that. The second one is leveraging a shared situation.
Right. You're both in the same boat. You're stuck in a long line.
So you might say, I think this is the longest line I've ever seen for coffee.
Perfect. It makes you partners in that moment. And the third type is just expressing curiosity about something they have. That drink looks amazing. What did you order?
The key here is that they're all responding to the situation, not to you or your identity.
Yes.
So once they respond and you have that tiny bit of back and forth, that's when you need the bridge to the actual introduction.
And this is the vital moment. The most effective phrase in English for this is incredibly simple.
What is it?
By the way.
Yeah. It's so casual, it almost suggests the introduction is an afterthought, not the main goal.
Precisely. It implies, I'm enjoying this little chat so much that now I actually want to know who you are.
So the full script is shared comment, they respond, maybe a little more small talk, and then I'm name, by the way.
That's the structure. It signals that you value the conversation, which is why you want to know their name.
Okay, so we've nailed the introduction. But that brings us to the next point of failure, which can happen 2 seconds later.
Sustaining the flow.
Yes. You don't want the whole exchange to just die right after you've established rapport.
And for this, you have to think of conversation as a game of ping pong.
Okay.
If I hit the ball to you and you just catch it and hold it in your hand, the game stops. That's what we call the flow killer.
And the flow killer is just answering a question with a single word.
Yes, absolutely. Someone asks, did you have a good weekend? And you just say, yes.
Game over.
The game is over.
Right.
You've just put all the responsibility to restart the conversation back on them. And that's, it's tiring.
So the goal is to always hit the ball back with enough spin that your partner can easily return it. The sources all point to one formula for this.
The answer plus add technique.
Answer the question, then add something more.
It's non-negotiable for smooth English conversation. You answer the question, then you immediately attach an extra detail or a follow-up question.
So let's run that scenario again. Did you have a good weekend? The flow killer is.
Yes, it was good. Full stop.
And the ping pong response.
Yes, it was great. That's the answer. I actually went hiking near the lake. That's the add. Do you like hiking?
Now you've given them something to work with. A detail. The sources call this the hook.
The hook is that detail. By adding hiking near the lake, they can now ask about the weather, or about hiking gear, or about the lake itself. You've given them multiple options to continue.
The conversation keeps moving organically, but what if a learner is under pressure? Thinking of that add detail seems like it could be a huge cognitive load.
That's a fair point. The key is to have a few generic hooks prepared.
Like a cheat sheet.
Kind of. Have 3 or 4 things ready to go about common topics. A recent hobby, a work challenge, a trip you're planning. That way, if you're asked, you can just deploy one of those details. It buys you time and keeps the flow.
That's very practical. Okay, let's shift gears because the rules change when we move from a casual chat to, say, a professional setting.
Right. A networking event, an interview. The goal isn't just connection anymore. It's demonstrating competence.
The stakes are higher.
And your confidence needs to reflect that. The context first rule still applies in a general sense, but the initial approach has to be much more direct.
Which you project with what sources call the preemptive. Hello.
No. You take control. The script is short but powerful. Hi. I don't think we've met yet. I'm Name.
It's confident. It subtly suggests, I'm someone important here and you should probably know me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And after that, the next question is almost guaranteed to be, what do you do?
And this is where so many people make a huge mistake. The anti-boring job title rule.
Just stating your title, I'm a marketing manager, is the professional version of the flow killer.
Why?
Because it's passive. It's just a label. It forces the other person to do all the work, to ask follow-up questions to figure out what you actually do.
So instead of a label, you need to create a narrative. A quick story.
You link your title to the value you provide or the problem you're currently solving.
So the boring version is, I'm an account manager. The engaging version applies that answer plus add structure. It would be something like, I manage logistics accounts for TechFlow. Right now, I'm trying to figure out how to streamline our shipping routes to cut down on environmental waste.
See? Now you're not just a title. You're a problem solver working on a specific, interesting challenge. You've given them hooks, shipping, the environment, streamlining. You're memorable.
Okay, so we've covered the words, the scripts, the flow, but that's only, 7% of communication?
A tiny fraction. We're missing the huge part. The silent language.
The nonverbals.
And for international learners, getting the physical mechanics right in Western settings is just non-negotiable. There are 3 key calibrations.
Let's start with the one that feels like a minefield. The handshake calibration.
It's a nonverbal measure of confidence. And you have to avoid the 2 extremes. First, the limp fish.
The weak, floppy handshake.
Which signals insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
On the other end, you have the bone crusher. Too firm, too long, it comes off as aggressive.
So what's the sweet spot?
It's purely mechanical. A firm connection web to web 2 controlled pumps, up and down, and then a clean release. It conveys respect and control.
Okay, next up. Eye contact. This is so hard for learners because they're often trying to translate in their heads. Staring is creepy, looking away is shifty.
And this is where the eye contact triangle is a game changer. You don't just stare at one point.
You imagine a triangle on their face.
An upside down triangle. You just rotate your gaze every 5 to 10 seconds between the 3 points. One eye, the other eye, then the mouth.
And that rotation mimics natural interest without feeling like you're staring them down.
Exactly. It keeps the connection while giving your brain a millisecond to process.
And finally, the unspoken rule of physical distance. The personal bubble.
This is so critical. In North America and Northern Europe, that bubble is big about an arm's length. If you stand closer than that, you trigger a subconscious flight response.
What does that look like?
The other person gets stressed. They might physically take a half step back or shift their weight away from you. At that point, it doesn't matter how good your English is, you've physically failed the first impression.
So the first impression is physical, then verbal.
Always.
We've started strong, we've kept the flow, but eventually you have to leave the conversation.
And ending a conversation awkwardly can be more damaging than starting one poorly because it's the last thing they remember about you.
You can't just say goodbye and walk away.
No, you need a polite exit code. The formula is a reason to leave plus a future reference.
Okay, let's look at the scripts. The first one is called the refresh.
This one uses a simple physical need as a universal excuse. You say, "It was great meeting you, Alex. I'm just going to go grab another drink, but let's catch up later."
The reason is the drink, the future reference is let's catch up. Simple.
The second one is the networking mingle, perfect for professional events. Here you say, "I promised myself I'd say hi to a few other people before the keynote starts, but I really enjoyed chatting with you." You're framing your exit as a professional duty, not a rejection.
And then there's the advanced move, the super connector tips.
This is the handover.
Yeah.
Instead of just leaving, you introduce the person you're talking to someone else. "Actually, have you met Sarah? She also works in marketing. Sarah, this is Alex."
And you walk away leaving them in a new conversation. That leaves an incredibly positive impression.
A generous one.
Now, all of this, it depends on execution. And that comes down to mindset.
It really does. The biggest barrier here isn't vocabulary. It's the fear of making a mistake.
Which is why we have to adopt what the sources call the mental sandbox mindset.
What's that?
You just treat every casual interaction as a practice run. If you mess up the handshake or you run out of things to say, it's fine. You just smooth over the sand and you try again with the next person.
At the end of the day, a successful introduction is just a mix of those prepared scripts. By the way, I don't think we've met, and genuine curiosity.
So, to recap, the 3 essential layers for success are mastering the context first rule for starting,
The answer plus add technique for sustaining the flow.
and the polite exit strategy.
If you internalize those, you really do shift from being a nervous observer to a confident communicator.
And you have to remember, native speakers mess up introductions all the time. They say the wrong thing, they fumble a handshake. The only real difference is that they recover faster.
And that leads to a really important final thought for you, the listener, to consider. We've talked about the scripts and the physical cues, but what are the skills beyond what we covered that determine how quickly someone recovers from a social stumble? What is that core mental agility that lets a confident person just self-correct and smooth things over instantly? That's something powerful for you to explore in your own practice this week.